Welcome everybody to this month's edition of Impact Norman. We're excited to be here at City Hall for this month's Chamber Chat. As you can see, I'm with Darrel Pyle, Norman's new city manager. He's been with us he's actually within his first month of being on the job, so this is really timely for us to visit with him, talk a little bit about his history, where he came from, how he got here, and his vision for our community, and how he sees that working with the City Council and the policy that they're putting into place. So we're looking forward to this conversation. Darrel, thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So, 1 month on the job now. Talk to us a little bit, first off, just tell us about who you are, where you came from, and tell us about Darrel Pyle.
You bet. I was born and raised in the central San Joaquin Valley in California. You may remember commercials that talked about the happy cows. That's where I was born and raised. I went to Redwood High School, a great tradition of athletics, and I think that part of California invests in its high school athletes a lot like Norman, Oklahoma invests in its high school athletes. Sure. I attended Fresno State University and obtained a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in business administration with an emphasis in accounting, and really didn't know what I would do with that degree at the time I graduated. But I had some exposure interning with the city I grew up in, the city of Visalia, interning in the finance department, and got to know a lot of great people and kind of saw a path start to open up for me in the world of local government finance. I've been married to the lady I took to the junior and senior high school prom for the last 30 years and 2 months. And we have 2 children, a 26-year-old son who just finished taking the bar exam this past week, and a 21-year-old daughter who will begin her senior year at St. Mary's College in Notre Dame, Indiana. I've been a local government professional for about 29 years, and the last 13 in the capacity of city manager. It was this past December when my son shared with his mom that he wasn't going to be moving back to California after his college career and law school here at the University of Oklahoma, and that's when Mom said, time for us to find a way to make our way to Norman. And lo and behold, just about that time, I saw a flyer for the city of Norman looking for a city manager, and it seemed like it was meant to be.
So that's kind of unique. I mean, that we kept one. That's really good. Your son, he's here, so he's taking the bar. I'm sure that'll go well. And does he plan on having a practice here in the area? Or?
He wants to practice in the field of intellectual property law, and I had to do a little homework to make sure I completely understood what that meant, but primarily in the world of copyrights and trademarks. So there are a couple of patent law firms here in the metro area, but his career could take him even to a position with the federal government, where he may wind up in Virginia at the PIO office.
Well, and with your daughter being in Indiana or going there, you're much closer now than you used to be in California.
Car
right?
ride away versus a long day in an airplane. Yeah. So good place to be.
Okay, so you've kind of given us the basic bio there, and then it really is a unique story with your son. I mean, having that connection that kind of introduced you to Norman now 8 or so years ago. Anything else that maybe is not on the bio that may be a fun fact about Darrel Pyle that people might like to hear about?
Well, growing up in the center of the San Joaquin Valley, I have a feeling my childhood was very similar to many folks growing up in the Norman area, with a large rural opportunity to hunt and fish. We taught ourselves how to water ski, and we pretty much hunted and fished everything that was ever in season in the San Joaquin Valley, and spent a lot of time with friends and family in the outdoors. And I'm looking forward to more of those opportunities as we start a new path here in Norman.
A lot of similarities then.
Very much similar.
So you've been in city government. You said right out of college, you entered into city government, and because of, I think, an internship, you
Yes.
said. So tell us a little bit about California. I'm curious, is the council manager form of government, is that very common in the state of California?
It is the predominant form of local government in California, and actually nationwide. It is the most common. Typically in California, in cities under 150,000, they manage with 5 council members. And as the populations grow, obviously the number of council seats grows just to ensure good representation. Not a surprise in Norman that we're dealing with almost 190 square miles of local government responsibility, and that does require more sets of eyes in the community, making sure that everybody's interests can be addressed. So wasn't a big surprise to see a council of 9 in dealing with geography as big as some counties in other parts of the country.
Yeah. You know, something I've always really enjoyed about local government, they put aside partisan issues, focus on delivering quality services to the community. And I've really enjoyed that. My previous life was able to partner in that and be part of things that were going on in local government. I don't know if you've enjoyed the same experience, but it's kind of fun. You're able to get, hopefully a unified message and directions from your elected officials, and then it's your job as a city manager to go out and implement that.
That's the fun part of the job. If you can get goals and objectives outlined by your city council and they are united in those goals and objectives, I've said there is no more powerful force in government than a united city council in the implementation of their goals. And truly the delivery of water service, sewer service, solid waste, police and fire, there really isn't a whole lot of debate in there along partisan lines. It's the delivery of service that counts, and our elected officials are recipients of those services, and we hold ourselves to a high standard in that delivery.
So speaking of a unified front, I know the city council, they recently had their retreat. I'm sure some great things came out of that, but one issue that's been in the paper recently that they've been working diligently on for probably over a year now is how the community is going to deliver public transit. There's a transition that's taking place
as we speak.
So talk to us about that and what the community can look forward to in the future.
You bet. The delivery of public transit services is not typically delivered around the U.S. by universities. So the University of Oklahoma's delivery of that service for the last 30 plus years was advantageous in that it allowed local government to focus on other issues. Very common for city government and or county government to be responsible for public transportation. And in that transition from university delivery to city delivery, one of the boxes we needed to be able to check to continue to receive the support from the Federal Transportation Administration is some expertise in delivering that particular service. The city, we've got a lot of wonderful people on staff, don't have a lot of great resumes in the world of public transportation, so the city looked to find a partner who could fulfill that part of the grant recipient's requirements. And they found that in Embark, who currently delivers public transit services for Oklahoma City. So for the last several months, contracts have been negotiated. So you've got contracts between the university and the city, and between the city and Embark in the delivery of the service. And the goal is to have zero interruption in service. What will happen over time is a transition in how the buses are marked. The routes will stay the same. They have had conversation that there would be free fare in public transit during this transition period, and discussion that the city of Norman would move to a free public transit system over time. So exciting conversations to have.
That is. Now, I know a big part of this is how are we going to fund it? That's always an issue with it being a new service that we're going to provide to the community. And the council's had some really sincere discussions just recently about how they might fund long-term outside of existing dollars that they've been putting into public transit. They're hoping, I think, to access some other public dollars. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, from your career in local government and in state government, you recognize the value of timing. And we've said timing is everything. In this particular instance, there was a countywide 0.25% sales tax voter approved a number of years ago to provide major improvements to county jail and operations, and that 0.25% is set to sunset later this year. So the City Council authorized staff to do a little homework to determine what voter support may look like in extending 1/8% sales tax to fund public transit. 1/8% sales tax would generate about $250 $2.5 million annually, and the cost of operating that public transit system is just shy of $2.5 million per year. So it seemed like a match made in heaven, and that was delivered through a polling service. They were able to receive 400 fully executed surveys throughout the community in the last few weeks, and it sounded like the voters were in recognition that this transition in public transit was about to take place, and that it seems to make good sense to utilize 1/8% of that sales tax that would have sunset in order to continue to fund a high quality public transit system.
So if the council continues taking their actions they need to, they're I think going down the path to put this on the ballot. Is that
Should
correct?
appear on a ballot in November is our understanding at this point.
Okay, and that would coincide with a vote that the Cleveland County is going to have also. Is that correct?
It is our understanding that the county underwent similar polling with a question to continue to fund county jail operations through the other half of that 1/4% sales tax. So I believe there will be two ballot questions in November related to the sunset of the 1/4%.
Okay, so the 1/4% sunsets, and county's proposing to take 1/2 of it, 1/8, and the city's proposing to take the other 1/8, the other half, correct?
All for good causes.
Okay, well, that'll be exciting. I know that our viewers will be, I think, anxious to learn a lot more about that. And while, as I think the poll shown, there's been so much discussion in the last year, if not more, about public transit. I mean, Normanites, I think, really do embrace public transit. They see it as a big quality of life, and so it'll be anxious to see and hear more, I think, about how that's going to go and learn more about that as we get closer to November.
You bet. So staff will be working on an educational campaign, and that recognition that several Norman residents do participate in public transit, and those who don't necessarily ride the bus do benefit from fewer vehicles on the road, and it frees up lanes of transportation for the other motorists. So I think everybody gets a win out of that.
Very good. So one issue that we haven't talked about yet that's really important, though, to our 1,600 members is the development process here at City Hall. I don't have to tell you, you've been around city government for a long time now. You understand really this relationship that government has with the business community, and our members really want to have a really great positive relationship that's good for both sides. And the city's taken I think a really positive, aggressive step to ensure that the development review process is meeting the needs of the city itself, but also of the customers that they're serving through the business community. And you want to give us maybe a little update about where we're at in that process?
Absolutely. Dependability and consistency are very important in the delivery of service, in every service we deliver. When you turn on the tap, you expect clean, potable water to come out, and when you set your refuse containers at the curb, you expect that city vehicle will be by and empty those containers as scheduled. The development process is moving towards that level of consistency and dependability. The City Council brought on a firm called Management Partners to evaluate the development process from start to finish in an opportunity to provide recommendations to improve the level of service being delivered. And we get mixed response. Some folks would tell you it goes relatively smoothly. Other folks would say, they're not receiving feedback in a timely fashion, and their particular applications seem to slow down once they cross the threshold at City Hall. So Management Partners has been doing an in-depth review and has delivered a set of draft recommendations currently being evaluated by staff, and we're preparing a study session for council here in the near future to review those recommendations along with some staff recommendations on how to go about implementing what it is that Management Partners has identified. As we talked about timing being mission critical, the City Council has taken previous action to update the city's website, and we seek better interaction with the development community through the website so they can track their particular application process and find out where they stand That along with the implementation of a new financial software system from a company called Tyler Technologies, we hope to be much more interactive and be able to speed the development process up and hopefully get to a point where developers can request inspections online, submit payments online, submit their construction drawings electronically, and really take the bottlenecks out of the system. What we hope to wind up with at the end of the day is a set of standards that would be developed by staff and by the development community. They would be adopted by City Council, and those would be the standards by which we would hold ourselves accountable. And you know, some of our services, it's pretty easy to measure how successful you're delivering the service. The development process, it's got so many different steps. Sometimes that's a challenge. But we think with standards that have been adopted and approved, we want people to be able to rely on a standard, and we want to be held accountable to that standard.
That sounds fantastic. Really good. So how does that play into the dialogue that's occurring around our existing central library, soon to be old central library, and the proposals to renovate and update that facility?
So one of those conversations that took place in the Management Partners Review identifies the need for a one-stop shop, where anybody seeking a building permit, they'll know exactly where to go and who they'll be doing business with once they walk through the door. So from the initial site plan review through the preliminary platting, final platting, permit issuance, inspections, and final certificate of occupancy, all to happen in one easily accessible counter space with plenty of parking right outside. We think we're going to be able to improve the experience by everybody walking through the door, and any relationships we can develop to truly make it a one-stop shop, so you're not running from school office to city office to county office paying whatever fee needs to be paid. If we can get that all handled in one transaction, it'll be easier for everybody involved.
That'll be great. We really will look forward to that, and I can promise you we'll be happy to bring our scissors to cut the ribbon on that new facility. That'll be wonderful.
Excellent, thank you.
So as we kind of begin to wrap things up here, maybe share with our members maybe your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, and what the Chamber can do to help you fulfill those and see those come to fruition.
You bet. You know, that opportunity in a career in local government to look back after time and help visualize the impacts that you leave behind. Will the city of Norman be better off? Will the quality of life be improved after a career as opposed to the day you walk through the door? That's what we all like to think we're going to be able to impact, and where we can work closely with our chamber members, the opportunity to share information and provide additional opportunities for transparency, mission critical from our side, the opportunity for us to educate those folks looking to enter the business world. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there who have great ideas but don't have experience in getting through the development process into open space and begin to hire locally and begin to put their dreams in action. Any opportunity we have to work with the chamber to educate the general public, we think is going to be a wonderful opportunity for us both.
That sounds like a great win-win. Well, we're looking forward to that, and I know that we're very excited to have you in Norman, Darrel. We appreciate your commitment to our community. We appreciate your time today, and we're looking forward to a very fruitful relationship long term. So thank you very much.
Always available to you, Scott.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, thanks for joining in today. We really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed this chamber chat. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. Please let us know how we can help you out, whether it's here at City Hall, the state capitol, or the U.S. Congress. We'll see you soon.